This is Sounds of the South podcast with Zach Cochran and
Kim Connor.
We're here talking with Jay, who's quite well known locally as a very good keyboard player. So we've met you before at the Mango Jam nights. Could you explain what kind of, well, how you run that and any other projects you run locally?
Yeah, sure. So I've been running jam sessions and open mics around Southampton for quite a few years now. I try and make each one that I do different to the others so that there's something for everyone at the events. And Mango kind of started because I kind of felt there was something missing in what I wanted to get out of a jam session. And I have been going to London to go to some of the jams up there, like maybe once a month or once every 2 months, like in Shoreditch and Soho and Knightsbridge. There's some really good jam sessions. And one of the directors of Mango, when they got the 3am license, kind of saw an opportunity to do something similar there. So we kind of built it out of that, and I've modelled it on the jam sessions that I like from London.
So how did you get started with this jam night thing, or how did you start, your musical career in general?
Well, with the jam sessions, when I was a student, I started going to a jam session that was called Root to Roots. It was a hip hop jam session. They had a DJ, 3 MCs, and a bass player and a drummer. And it was at a place called the Soul Cellar, which is now So Cake. And I kind of got into jamming there. I used to go to those jam sessions, jam with those guys. That eventually became a band. And we've done a few sort of festivals and headline shows, support slots. But that idea of just the musical community kind of coming together and just enjoying themselves, that really stuck with me. So since then I've put on quite a few other open mic sessions, jam sessions. Some of them very short notice, some of them very regular, like the same day of the month or same day of the week. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for musicians to grow, for them to network, and to kind of, for people that are full-time musicians, it's a nice opportunity to kind of experiment in ways that you can't when you're doing other kind of work, which is, again, helps you sort of grow as a musician.
How would you say Mango Jam is different then? Because you were saying you kind of make it different to the other jam nights you put on, and it was inspired by the ones you went and saw up to London. How do they compare to the ones down here?
Well, what I liked about it, firstly, it's was the main thing that made Mango happen was Mango itself. The venue is lovely, and it's a really nice, relaxed, comfortable atmosphere.
Yeah.
They have a late license, and it's somewhere, because they have that basement area. It's somewhere where you can go into kind of like a little secret club.
Yeah, it's such a chill vibe.
And, sit on some comfy seats, get a cocktail and listen to some live music. And that's kind of quite similar to the London experience of jam sessions, where you go
It's like its own little world, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite,
You go into a nice little bar that's tucked away down some back street somewhere and just find some of the top session musicians in London playing there. So yeah, it was kind of the venue itself that gave me the ability to do that. And then what I did was put together house bands of full-time professional musicians that know a lot of songs, that can play to really high standard, that are good at improvising, and encouraged other people to come and join in and build an audience of people that like to come and watch it. They don't know exactly what's going to happen, but they know it's going to be good quality. And I think one of the elements of that is making sure it's a full band jam session for the whole evening, which is one major difference between some of the other nights I run, which are open mics, we might have artists with a backing track, or we might have an acoustic guitarist on their own.
Yeah, yeah.
So this one is kind of a full band show for the whole
It's
duration.
quite professional, isn't it? I know you've said to me before that Mango is different to the others because it is professional to semi-professional musicians, so it's quite...
The idea is to encourage people that are professional musicians,
Yeah.
or at least the standard of professional musicians, to come down and enjoy themselves and experiment a little bit. And there are other nights I run that I'm more focused at beginners.
You've got to cater to all levels, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, there's other nights that are more catered to beginners, and there are some, like Mango, for example, which is more of a professional thing, and that kind of encourages more people to come and watch who aren't musicians, because they know they're going to get a good show.
Yes, yeah. What are the other open mic nights you do run regularly then? Could you give us some examples?
Yeah, there's one on Tuesdays at the Alexandra, which is called Plug and Play.
Oh yeah,
open mic, and that's quite varied, and we recently made some changes. So we have a different theme for each Tuesday of the month.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have like a jazz theme one week, blues next week, metal the next week, and like soul and funk the next week.
A bit of everything, yeah.
Yeah. And we only recently started doing that this year. Plug and Play's been going for 8 years now, I think. And it's always been very, very eclectic. We've had like solo sitar players, we've had like hip hop MCs, we've had metal bands, we've had like such a big mix of different types of music. But it's not always what everyone wants to hear.
You're giving it more of a focus.
Yeah, so giving it a focus actually has really helped, and the nights have been busier because people know that if they go down on the second Tuesday of the month, it's going to be blues all night. So people that are blues fans will definitely come, knowing that it's worth the trip because they're going to hear a whole night of music they like rather than maybe just 15 minutes here or there.
Well, I expect it gives the musicians a chance to delve into other genres as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings other musicians in. I've found since we started doing it, there's been jazz musicians that have come to the jazz one.
Yeah.
Blues musicians that have never been, that come to the blues one. And rock and metal musicians that have been to that one. And also people who like listening to those genres have come down because it's an evening of music that they like. So, so we're going to continue with that. The other ones, there's one at the Social, which is on Wednesdays. And although that's weekly, I only do one a month. I do the third Wednesday of the month. And we have different hosts, like other musicians around Southampton who host it on the other Wednesdays. And again, that kind of helps to keep it busy. I think it would be quite hard with an open mic of that nature for one person to do it all the time and consistently bring a crowd that's big enough for a venue that size. So having that responsibility once a month for each of us means we can all bring different crowds.
I expect it does keep you quite busy running all of the different open mic nights and that, different days of the
and
week.
I often delegate them out as well.
Yeah.
When I'm doing other things.
So how did you get started on your road to improvisation? Because we went down to Mango Jam one night, and you're a really good keyboard player.
Well,
I remember a part where you turned Smell Like Teen Spirit, or the Nirvana song, into like Moanin', which is a jazz song, and I was just like, oh my god, how?
It's that comes from sort of trying to spot the similarities between songs and where they can fit together. I've always been a massive fan of mashups. I think one of the beauties of music, and especially modern pop music, is that there's so many similarities that there's always things you can do with songs that you can tie in together and make people look at a piece of music in a different way. There'd be some people in the room that had never heard Moaning before,
They didn't know when it came on. I was like,
There
oh
you go,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they know Smells Like Teen Spirit,
and then it.
and it kind of presents it in a new light. And that's something we can do at jam sessions that we wouldn't be able to do, if we're playing some
It
background
gives you
music
more
in a
free
hotel,
rein, doesn't
or
it? You can do what you like,
or entertaining people at a wedding. Sometimes you don't have as much when you're playing to a certain brief. You don't have as much opportunity to experiment.
Yeah.
So these jam sessions are like an opportunity for that.
So you do some function stuff. Can you explain what's like your favourite function gig that you've done so far, and what kind of stuff do you do regularly? What genre? Catered to what kind of people?
Well, personally, a lot of the performance work I do with functions is in a soul and Motown band called Freddie and the Freeloaders. And that's kind of expanded more recently to become a bit of a festival band as well.
Okay, yeah.
But it's all still covers. We do some sort of modern soul as well. And yeah, that's really enjoyable. It's a really good group of musicians. Been together 12 years. 12 years next month. Yeah. And yeah, I was playing with them in Shoreditch last night. And yeah, it's loads of fun. It's I think it's important that you enjoy the music, that you really like the songs, and you like the musicians you're playing with, because when especially during the summer, we play together a lot, and we'll play a lot of the same songs that are the ones, especially like during the weddings, that people want to hear at weddings. And if you don't like the songs, or you're not really like enjoying what the bass player's doing or the drummer's doing, then it just would become a chore. So I'm quite lucky that found some really good musicians, and I suppose the song choice isn't really luck. Like, we've chosen some really good songs that we really enjoy.
Yeah, definitely.
And the people who book us are the people who like our music. So yeah, it's been really good fun. We've done quite a few festivals as well. We played at BST in Hyde Park last year. Played at Glastonbury 5 times, I think.
Wow.
That's pretty big, yeah.
And we're supporting Kaiser Chiefs in June at Southampton Uncut Festival.
Yeah.
So we do some things outside of functions as well as a covers band. But most of the paid work is private events like Christmas parties and weddings and corporate events and things.
I expect that's why the jam nights are quite a good break, because like you were saying, you can take free rein, you can do what you want, you can learn what you want, you can play what you want. It's not specifically choosing certain songs to crowd pleasers. And
even the songs that we do play often, we can do differently at jam nights.
Yeah, definitely.
And mix them with other songs, like try them. We do all sorts of things to songs.
You got to keep it original, haven't you? That's what keeps it fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, otherwise it does become a bit of a chore. So
yeah.
Are there any projects that you have going on at the moment other than like just open mic nights and jam nights? Do you
quite a few. So Roots to Roots, which is the jam session that I mentioned earlier, is now banned. Got the t-shirt on here.
Yeah.
there we go.
Always promoting. So we have we've been going probably about the same amount of time as Freddie and the Freeloaders now. So when I first moved to Southampton, that was an existing jam session, but eventually it became a band because we got offered support slots at the Soul Cellar when they were touring artists.
Yeah.
And we'd go on stage and just do our jam session. And we realised that if we were going to be supporting touring artists, we'd need some solid material because it's always a bit messy when it's a jam. So we started writing, and it kind of went from there and grew. Fan base grew. Material got recorded in the end. We've done a couple of more high-profile things supporting Public Enemy and Wu-Tang Clan when they've been touring on the South Coast.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan?
Yeah.
God, that's big.
That was big. That was at the time, that was our biggest sort of support slot that we'd had. Most of the support slots have been British artists or not quite as well known American artists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else did we? We had supported Guru as well. He's not as well known as Wu-Tang, but definitely very, very influential. And Public Enemy were amazing because for us, they are a live hip hop band as well. They don't just use DJ and MCs; they have a DJ with a full band and MCs, and that was a proper education. Like watching them, they've been in the game for like 20 years, like and at the top of their game. Yeah, it was really impressive, and they're really nice guys as well.
What is the aim for Root to Roots then for the future?
Well, we've recently gained a female vocalist. So the lineup has been MCs who were all male up till now. A sax player, myself on keyboard, guitar, bass, and drums. And we've been writing sort of some more melodic material with her. She's a singer and MC, and it just gives us a bit more of an opportunity to branch out further than the core hip hop crowd.
Yeah.
Because some people are more likely to respond to the music when there is some singing and there is some melodic interplay as well. And she's a really, really talented vocalist. We've been writing some new stuff. So the next plan really is to start recording it, which we'll be doing towards the end of this year. We've got, I think, 5 songs written. We'll be writing a few more over the summer, and then some recording. Yeah. Other projects, there's a few. I've been doing some session work with different artists on their projects.
Yeah.
So it's I don't really have any input into the composition in those projects, and just sort of working as a keyboardist. And they're all really, really different, but really fun. There's a singer-songwriter from London called Talia Storm, who's a kind of R&B style singer. Absolutely incredible voice. And we've been doing some duo shows with her, which have been great. Got to travel a bit as well. There's a DJ who recently moved to Bristol, but his band was based in London, called Jimmy Needles, who writes kind of really spacey, like beats with jazz funk influences, which are all a kind of multimedia presentation, in that he's written all the music's instrumental, but there's a story behind each song, which is being told in a comic book, which has been written by a collaborator. It's a story of a spaceman, basically. And each piece of music will be released alongside the next comic, which I absolutely love.
So
It's
interesting.
Yeah, it's really good fun. We've done some good festival shows with him at Shambhala last year, and Standing Calling, and playing in Bristol on the 10th of May. 11th of May. That's it, Saturday. So that's been really fun. And and the other one is more of a folk singer-songwriter called Ruth Theodore, who she plays everything, like sings, plays guitar, piano, violin. But in the band, she mainly plays guitar and I do the piano. And we have double bass and drums as well, and everybody sings in all the songs. So most of the songs have 4-part harmonies, which is a really nice sort of lush sound. Definitely more bluesy and folky than any of the other projects. Kind of, I'd say, like Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell kind of inspired stuff. Really good songs. So we just did a tour of England last month, and we're doing a tour of Italy in June, and then another tour of England, or maybe the whole UK in October. So yeah, so I don't really write in any of those projects.
No,
it's just sort of, you know, the band leaders write the music and then
you
teach
take
it
it
to
from
us.
there,
Yeah.
So you're obviously a very, very busy man.
Yeah.
You're very well known and popular within the local industry and beyond. Could you give us like a sort of timeline of how you've got to where you are now? So where did it all begin? What steps did you take to get to where you are?
Younger you like even think, oh, I want to play the keyboard? You know, start from the very beginning.
Okay, if we're going back that far,
Yeah.
so when I was very young, my mum used to take me to church. We lived in South London. We went to this church in Eltham. Can't remember what it was called, but there's a gospel band and choir there, and that the Sunday mornings really was pretty much the main thing I remember from my childhood, was just waiting for that couple of hours.
Yeah.
Where you just see everyone just going crazy, just having the best time.
Yeah.
Like just a room full of really happy people.
Just enjoying themselves,
Yeah, that made a really big impression on me, and I think that's where I wanted to, that's where I got the sort of desires, like looking at the people performing, and I was like, want to be one of them.
You just see what effect it has on the audience as
like,
well. That's quite...
Yeah, making people happy.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great job.
There you go, yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I've always been really keen. I started learning instruments like a few years after that. When I was like 7, I tried a few different instruments, and then when I got to the piano, that was the one that
That's
I
when
was
it
like,
took off, yeah.
And then stuck with that, and I was quite obsessed with it. Like all through school, I would play for like 2 hours every day. Even when I was supposed to be in other lessons, the ones I didn't like, I'd just go to the music block and just play all the time, every day. My mum was really supportive of it. She said, as long as you focus and study, you can do whatever you want. So I took it to degree level, but even before I started uni, I'd already really started working. I spent a lot of my first year travelling back to where she lived in Somerset by then. We'd moved by then, to do gigs at the weekends. And eventually it was just... I just thought I need to find work here because 165 mile round trip every weekend is just a bit too much. So I guess that kind of started from church and just grew from
Went on from there.
Yeah.
Because I know you used to teach here as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. I was a lecturer here for 3 years. Yeah, it's great.
It's a good experience. They do say the best way to learn is to teach, because at the end of the day, if you're not able to teach someone else something that you know, you obviously don't know it well enough, do you? So...
Exactly. And I got to say, like, I was teaching the music business module, and although it's a very hard one to write a syllabus for because it's constantly changing, like almost week by week.
There you go, yeah.
There were some really useful things that there were like gaps in my knowledge in certain areas of the industry that I haven't worked in very much, that I found really useful as well, you know. But mainly, I think experience is important with things like that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a qualification for it when I was approached by the academy, so I had to, in order to take the job, I had to go and do a teacher training course
before,
so I could do it. But it was the reason they wanted me was that I was quite involved in several areas of business in the music industry, and not because I had a reputation as a teacher. So I had to sort of go and do the teacher training and then bring the experience in.
Sometimes it definitely does. The knowledge and the experience counts for more.
Yeah,
Because you've been out there and you've done it. You know these parts of the industry well. So it's just putting that across and teaching people what you know and what you've learned.
Yeah, and I do find like people who are teaching full time don't have as much time or opportunity to get
definitely, yeah.
as far into the areas of the business side.
But yeah.
So did you ever teach keyboard here, or was it just music business?
I did, yeah. I did teach keyboard. There were not many keyboard students when I was here, so
None come here.
there was there was a very minimal amount of keyboard teaching. But yeah, I did do some when there was some.
What is Golden Groove? Can you explain it to us and what what takes place?
Okay, Golden Groove Entertainment is it's basically a music agency. So it's like a headhunting service for people who are having music events. If they're looking for a band or a choir or a DJ, singer, even other musicians who are looking for musicians can use the service. And I've kind of set that up in 2011 with a business partner who was she'd come over from the Czech Republic and she was doing a master's in cultural arts management, and we'd started working together as a duo. She sings and plays saxophone, and I was playing piano, and we had this idea. We basically approached a few local agencies at the time, because we're like, agents can get us more work.
But there you go, yeah.
And we found that firstly there were hardly any agencies. Secondly, the agencies that were around weren't really interested in taking on young people. They already had full books, basically, so they said. And there seemed to be a massive gap in the market, so we set up our own agency. We know dozens of people that are students and graduates who are really good, who won't be able to get onto these agencies, so let's set up our own agency and put them all on.
Yeah.
So we started doing that, and that's been that's kind of where I got the music business experience from. So I guess on a day-to-day sort of basis, we supply some local places around here with DJs and musicians for like regular weekly work. But most of our main work is private events.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really more of a personal service. I kind of like people to describe how they want their wedding guests, what kind of experience they want them to have, and then work backwards from there to get the right musician or group of musicians or DJ or whatever entertainment is going to give them, it's going to fit with the idea they have for their wedding. So there's lots of emails, lots of conversations, lots of fine tuning. But that's a really rewarding side of it, the weddings, I think. We do a lot of like birthday parties and corporate events as well, and try and cater for any budget. There's it's very rare that somebody's not got enough for anything.
Yeah.
They might, but we always pay musicians fairly, and we don't take on work that would leave them underpaid, basically.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
We'd rather reduce the number of musicians in the band and pay everyone properly. Yeah, that's been 8 years.
Happy days. How would you sum up Southampton's music scene? And what keeps you local? Because, of course, I expect you've had the chance several times to branch out to different parts of the UK.
Yeah.
What keeps you here?
One of the things that keeps me here, I haven't talked about this yet, but I have a jazz project, which is my own trio with a bass player and drummer. And I find that the music I write for that is more inspired by nature than anything else.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's inspired by people, sometimes individuals, or sometimes a human trait.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it's a lot of the pieces I've written are about nature, about the sea or the sky or something. And I do feel more comfortable having access to nature, having it at arm's reach. I like the fact that I can get to the beach in half an hour, or the forest, or the countryside.
It is quite central to...
Yeah, it is. And so that's kind of one of the reasons, probably the more recent reason that I've stayed. Obviously, when we set up the company in 2011, it was based here, and that was that was really a decision to stay in Southampton. My business partner's now moved back to Prague and set up another branch over there, which is actually doing better than this one at the moment. It's really taken off, like immediately. But I feel that's because
you have the knowledge then.
We've done it already.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Once you've built it up, though, do you know what I mean? It's only going to get better and better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you've made the connections, you know the people locally that are interested in the work, so it's just taking it from there.
And the other thing about this part of the country is that, particularly for the function work, it's really, really well placed. I mean, if you look at Southampton on the map and the surrounding areas, you've got like Chichester, Winchester, Salisbury, like New Forest, Poole and Sandbanks isn't too far away. You know, it's literally like hundreds of really nice high-end wedding venues.
Yeah,
hundreds.
Definitely, yeah.
And Southampton's kind of in the middle of all of them. So in terms of getting that kind of work, this is a really good place to live. Obviously, for like a lot of the session work I do, like I was saying, most of the people I do sessions for have been in London. Most of that kind of work for pop artists is in London. But it's because the company was based on sort of private entertainment, being somewhere that's surrounded by private entertainment venues was obviously like
perfect. Yeah,
ideal for that.
So, right, so we are both musicians. I am keys and he is a drummer. What advice would you give us if we wanted to go to like a jam night, for example, and just like jam together?
I would say have an idea of what style you want to play, and if you have any specific songs, then or pieces of music you want to play, then that's always helpful. There's a couple of students from Southampton University, it's a guitarist and a sax player, who come down to Mango sometimes, and every time they come down, they've got a different piece of music that they've worked on together that they want to do with the band.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a good way of approaching it. If you have something that you're kind of prepared with, and you can show the band quite easily. Sometimes people bring sheet music if they want to do instrumental stuff.
Certain, yeah.
The other thing is find a singer and learn some of the songs that the singer wants to do, and then all go together. Like there's a couple of people I know that do that, that come down and they're like, okay, I want to play drums with this singer because we've been practicing together. And then you can go on. So if you've got drums and keys and a singer, then you might have a saxophonist that you don't know and a bass player that you haven't played with before. But you guys as a core are like, we know this song, so you guys follow us. And yeah, that's a good way to get involved.
Good way to jam.
Any other questions?
No.
I don't know what the time is at, but yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Oh, great.
Thank you for coming in, Jay. It's
a
a pleasure to meet you, and cheers for having a chat with us.
Great. Thanks very much.